We begin today's wrestling news and rumors video with some new updates regarding Samoa Joe's in-ring status in WWE following his return to the company earlier this month, after being unceremoniously released from the company back in April of 2021. Now, when Samoa Joe came back to WWE for the NXT brand, there's no doubt that lots of fans were hoping to see Joe return in an in-ring capacity, after having last worked for WWE as a commentator due to injuries that kept Samoa Joe from wrestling. But instead, Samoa Joe returned to WWE NXT as William Regal's enforcer, which is certainly better than simply working commentary once again, as it did give fans some hope that perhaps Samoa Joe could be making a comeback to the ring down the line. And following a recent interview, Samoa Joe has given his fans a lot of hope for the future, because in this interview, Samoa Joe basically made it clear that he wants to wrestle again in WWE, and likely for the NXT brand, with Joe basically saying that the likes of Karrion Kross and Pete Dunne are superstars he'd like to face off against in NXT. Now, when it comes to Samoa Joe possibly making a comeback to the ring in WWE, there's no doubt that Joe would probably be better off returning to wrestle for NXT instead of the main roster, because even if Samoa Joe was cleared to wrestle again and was moved up to Monday Night Raw or Friday Night SmackDown, there's a good chance that Samoa Joe would once again be mistreated and booked in a very unfavorable way like he has in the past, because Vince McMahon just does not see the main event potential in Samoa Joe and feels he just is not worthy of any big pushes, and thus Samoa Joe's talents would likely be wasted on Raw or SmackDown. Whereas in NXT, he is working with Triple H, who has always been a massive supporter of Samoa Joe, and Hunter was one of the officials who reached out to Samoa Joe first to possibly come back to WWE after his surprise release back in April, and Samoa Joe even recently revealed that Triple H called him the actual day of his WWE release to come back for NXT. So it's very clear that Triple H sees a lot of value in Samoa Joe, which is definitely nice to see. Make sure you guys sound off in the comment section down below regarding Samoa Joe's recent comments that he intends to wrestle again in WWE soon. And should he return to wrestle for the NXT brand, or would it be worth the risk for Samoa Joe to possibly move up to Raw or SmackDown when he's ready to return and potentially have a better second run on the main roster? Although again, it's doubtful that anything would go too differently for Samoa Joe on the main roster, with Vince McMahon in charge and at the helm of all the major booking decisions. When John Morrison made his return to WWE back in 2019, there's no question that lots of fans were feeling like Morrison could finally reach his true potential in WWE this time around, and perhaps get pushed as a main event World Championship caliber superstar, with John Morrison truly having all the tools to be a top star in WWE, as Morrison definitely has the right look, the in-ring talent and charisma to warrant a run at the top of Monday Night Raw or Friday Night SmackDown. However, in the grand scheme of things, John Morrison's run in WWE over the past couple of years has been pretty underwhelming, with John Morrison spending the majority of his time working alongside The Miz, and while parts of John Morrison teaming up with The Miz again have been memorable and interesting, John Morrison has not been featured the way most fans had hoped for. And in all honesty, Morrison is kind of in the shadow of The Miz and plays second fiddle to the supposed A-lister. In a recent interview, while John Morrison admitted that his WWE return did not go the way he had expected, he has been happy with the way things have turned out, with Morrison liking working with The Miz once again. But there's no doubt that it seems like under the surface, John Morrison is a bit angered or upset at the fact that Vince McMahon has really made no attempts to push him in the way Morrison and his fans had originally thought he would be. Like we had mentioned, John Morrison really does have all the tools to make a big impact in WWE, whether on Raw or SmackDown, and potentially become a world champion, but it does not look like that is something Vince plans to do when it comes to John Morrison, and he will likely continue as The Miz's right-hand man. However, it did seem like WWE were trying to give John Morrison a little bit of spotlight recently, because Morrison picked up a win over Randy Orton on Raw last week, in a Money in the Bank qualifying match to get himself into the men's Money in the Bank ladder match next month. But like many of you would likely expect, it's pretty doubtful that WWE have any long-term pushes planned for John Morrison, because it is more likely that WWE simply want the talented John Morrison in the Money in the Bank ladder match to add some depth and enhance the match, with Morrison always being able to perform in these kinds of matches. With that said, if enough fans get behind John Morrison and demand WWE to give him more opportunities, perhaps some kind of a sustained push could materialize for Morrison. And although it is very unlikely, there is a worthy storyline for John Morrison to win the Money in the Bank ladder match this year and win that coveted briefcase, seeing as though it was not too long ago that The Miz had the briefcase in his possession, although The Miz did not actually win the Money in the Bank ladder match, and rather won the briefcase from Otis at a later date. But regardless, it would definitely be an interesting storyline if John Morrison wins the briefcase, and then the dynamic that would follow between John Morrison and The Miz, since this time it would be Morrison who has the golden opportunity at the WWE Championship. And it would be interesting to see if The Miz is as supportive of his tag team partner as Morrison was for The Miz during his run with the briefcase, or if The Miz would eventually get jealous and turn on John Morrison. However, this is all speculation, and again, it's unlikely that WWE have planned for John Morrison to win the Money in the Bank ladder match next month. But stranger out of the blue things have happened in WWE, and it's not entirely out of the question. Now let us know your thoughts on John Morrison being a little bit upset with the way WWE has treated him following his return. And do you feel that John Morrison deserves a chance to become a world champion and possibly win the upcoming Money in the Bank ladder match to secure himself a chance at greatness? Or is John better off staying put in the tag team division alongside The Miz? Without question, Buddy Murphy's release from WWE at the beginning of the month caught many wrestling fans off guard, because while Murphy had not been doing too much in WWE, during his final months under contract with the company, Murphy was widely known as being a great talent who could go on to do great things in WWE if given the chance to succeed. And he showed glimpses of being able to handle the main event spotlight during his storyline with Seth Rollins and then with the Mysterios. Buddy Murphy had a great look and immense talent in the ring, and it certainly is disappointing that he was basically just removed from WWE TV and forced to sit out before getting quietly let go from WWE. However, clearly, Vince McMahon and higher-up WWE officials failed to see Murphy as being a superstar who could be anything more than a mid-card level talent, and felt that Murphy was disposable, hence why he was released out of the blue in early June of 2021. Again, this is pretty saddening that Murphy is no longer working for WWE, as he truly transformed his look while he was with the company in hopes that Vince would give him a proper chance to succeed. But nonetheless, Buddy Murphy has not let his recent WWE firing get him down too much, because just the other day, Murphy posted a shocking photo of himself that showcases he has somehow gotten himself in even better shape than when he was working for WWE, with Murphy stating that he is hungrier than ever before, and craving to get himself back into the mix as a top name in wrestling. Now, considering Vince McMahon is usually very fond of wrestlers with shredded physiques, it's surprising that he was not more interested in pushing Buddy Murphy, because while Murphy was not quite as big as he is now when he was still under contract with WWE, Murphy definitely still had a fantastic physique that should have caught Vince's attention. Regardless, sometimes getting released from WWE is the best thing that can happen for certain wrestlers that hit a wall in WWE and were not really going anywhere, with some prime examples of this notion being true, including Jinder Mahal and Drew McIntyre, who were unceremoniously released from WWE at their lowest point, but got themselves in better shape than ever before, and reinvented themselves in other wrestling promotions, and not surprisingly eventually made their ways back to WWE, where both Jinder Mahal and Drew McIntyre found way more success than before and became WWE champions. Buddy Murphy seems like the kind of wrestler who could follow in the footsteps of superstars like Jinder and Drew and use his WWE release as motivation so that one day he can return to WWE and accomplish a whole lot more than he would by simply coasting along in WWE and just being stagnant in the mid-card. Sometimes a wrestler has to take their career into their own hands and reinvent themselves elsewhere, and it looks like Buddy Murphy is taking the first steps in doing this, and by all means he looks like he is in amazing shape and ready to change his wrestling career for the better in another wrestling promotion, perhaps AEW, Impact Wrestling, or New Japan Pro Wrestling. Things have definitely been getting very interesting over on Friday Night SmackDown following last week's edition of the Blue Brand, because while it seemed as though Roman Reigns was beginning to lack real credible challengers for his Universal Championship, After essentially wiping out all contenders with ease, the WWE shook things up in a massive way with the surprise and unexpected return of the Rated R superstar Edge, who was last seen in WWE at WrestleMania 37 in an unfortunate losing effort in the Universal Championship Triple Threat main event on Night 2 of the Showcase of the Immortals. Prior to the special edition of SmackDown, many fans were concerned about Edge's future in WWE and whether or not he would be returning to wrestle again, and if so, what the WWE's plans would be for Edge. And thankfully, WWE have picked off right where they left off, with Edge immediately setting his sights on Roman Reigns and his Universal Championship, with Edge finally getting a one-on-one title opportunity against Roman Reigns at the upcoming Money in the Bank 2021 pay-per-view event. Although it has not even been one full week yet, the hype and anticipation is already starting to build in a big way for this Universal Championship match at Money in the Bank between Roman Reigns and Edge. And with the new shocking rumors going around that WWE could be planning a massive swerve or surprise in this title match, things are only going to be getting more intriguing. According to a new breaking behind-the-scenes rumor, there is speculation that John Cena, who has been rumored to be feuding with Roman Reigns heading into SummerSlam 2021, could shockingly be returning at Money in the Bank 2021 and helping his former friend and foe Edge win the Universal Championship from Roman Reigns at Money in the Bank, which would accomplish two things: getting that Universal title on Edge without the Rated R superstar having to defeat Roman Reigns cleanly, and having the big feud between Roman Reigns and John Cena begin in a huge way. Now, it's doubtful that Edge would be the champion for very long, but there is some speculation that Edge could be walking into SummerSlam 2021 the reigning Universal Champion, and defend the title against John Cena and Roman Reigns in a massive triple threat match to help make SummerSlam this year a must-see show. And make sure you guys sound off in the comment section down below, and let us know if you would like to not only see Edge win the Universal Championship from Roman Reigns at Money in the Bank 2021, but possibly do so with a bit of help and assistance from a long-term friend and rival in John Cena. As many of you are likely aware by now, the WWE released the Singh brothers a couple of days ago out of the blue, and while this was not that shocking or surprising, the Singh brothers, otherwise known as the Bollywood Boyz, had a strong connection to former WWE champion Jinder Mahal, and the Singh brothers had a lot to offer the 205 Live tag team division in WWE. However, WWE superstar Randy Orton has gotten a lot of praise from fans with his social media comments directed at the Singh brothers following the releases, with Randy Orton stating that the Singh brothers gained his respect long before the infamous table spots during Jinder Mahal's WWE Championship match against Randy Orton at Backlash 2017. And Orton proceeded to say that he feels he will see the Singh brothers again down the line. But until then, Orton urges Samir and Sunil to show everyone what they can do in another wrestling promotion and perhaps work their way back to WWE. And this was undoubtedly a classy response from the Viper, Randy Orton. We finish up today's wrestling news and rumors video with some updates regarding the WWE's plans for Big E. As we had mentioned in our last video, rumors currently suggest that WWE are planning for Big E to be drafted over to Monday Night Raw during the upcoming WWE draft later this summer, with the WWE's intention here being that Big E would be pushed as a main event world title contender on the Raw brand. And we have some new rumors regarding the storyline plan of Big E moving over to Raw. Apparently, WWE are planning for Big E to get drafted over to Monday Night Raw and realign with the New Day's Kofi Kingston and Xavier Woods, although Big E would reportedly be pursuing a singles championship, because the rumor states that with Kofi Kingston likely to fail to win the WWE Championship from Bobby Lashley, Vince McMahon likes the idea of Big E saving the day, so to speak, and stepping up to the challenge and vying for Lashley's WWE Championship next. So fans should expect for Big E to be one of Bobby Lashley's next challengers for the WWE Championship later this year in the summer months of 2021.